that the Berea Planning Commission business session for Tuesday, April 26, 2011, started at 6:31 p.m. at the Berea Municipal Building with a call to order. First item of business is recognition of visitors. Is there anyone here for an item that is not on the agenda? Hearing none, we can move on to the minutes for March 22nd, 2011. I don't have a copy, so I'm winging it here. Does anyone have any corrections for or additions to page 1? Page 2? Page 3? Page 4, which is comments from staff. Page 5 is comments from staff. Anything in the old business report that anyone thinks needs attention? Hearing none, Chair would solicit a motion on the matter of the minutes to approve or correct.
Move to approve.
Motion has been made by Mr. Hoffman to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. McGill. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion passes. Old business, we have none, it says here. New business, the first item is Innovative Property Investments, 401 to 423 Pauline Drive, Development Plan.
Dwayne Wheatley, Advocates Engineering, representing Innovative Property Investments, as well as our client 80 Grant Builders. As we went over in the work session, we're proposing 31 bedroom single story units and 32 bedroom single story units on the property located on Pauline Drive in the Beaumont development area. We've tried to make all the corrections that we've known about. I know we had to, note 1 we had to change because we had the address still 400 to 406, so it needed to be the 401 to 423. I'm sure there's probably a few other little things maybe that you haven't caught yet. If there is, and we'll be glad to make those changes, and I'll try to answer any questions you may have.
Does city staff have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, basically they've done everything I had on my checklist. I would like to make a statement tonight and maybe enter this into the record a little later in the motion. One of the things that I was a little bit concerned about on this development or this area is the retention basin that was built, which was built to retain all of the drainage of this entire subdivision. Was it adequate? It was constructed, it appeared to be constructed according to the plans, but the city has been investigating that along with Mr. Camargo, our engineer. He's been looking at it to make sure that it's got the right amount of pension area. And what we found out that it's slightly under what it should be. Now, according to Mr. Camargo, and I'll let him speak for himself if you'd like to, but he and I had a discussion. It will handle this development fine, no problem. But if you choose to go ahead and approve this tonight, I would also like for us to state in the record that no further developments can come before us until the issue of the retention basin is taken care of and it's enlarged to the proper. Over time, it's probably silted in. It's been there for a long time, and it needs to be cleaned out, needs to be reshaped a little bit. A couple things need to be done to it, and it would be my contention that we put some type of a stop on any future development until that's taken care of. And it can be taken care of. I just think it would be a good tool to do it that way. This development, the detention basin is okay. Mr. Camargo has run the numbers on it, and he says it will hold this particular development, but any future, because there's still quite a bit of vacant land out there, any future development would start to have a adverse effect on the detention basin.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Dale, are there approved, but other than this, approved but unbuilt pieces out there?
No, there's not any at this time. There's a couple of apartment houses way on the back side, but that doesn't affect this detention basin. There's what is constructed on the front is what is approved at this time. So it's not going to change. That's why I thought it was a good point to stop and say, okay, after this, we need to make sure that the detention basin is of adequate size and adequate retainage, and it has the correct pipes and things in it. And if you want to ask the engineer any questions, I'm sure he could answer those for you. I don't know the technical aspects. We just had this discussion, and that's what our stance on it is.
Well, can we get an idea of what of the acreage that's served by this detention basin, what % is undeveloped, roughly? And where I'm going with this
I'm
is,
taking a guess, but I'm saying probably in the neighborhood of 40%.
okay. And so then the next question is, on whose nickel does this detention basin get cleaned out or whatever?
This would be the owners of Innovative Properties. They still own the property. They still own this piece of property as of today. And I have a letter from them authorizing Abacus to represent this development here tonight. But they still own the whole thing. Currently, they own the whole property. That's why I say it'd be a good time to put some type of something in the minutes that says they have to go back and look at that.
So they own this vacant land that would
Yes,
be...
yes, they do own the vacant land.
I'm just thinking of how that gets paid for and how to balance that between people who are already using it, who have, taken up some of its capacity, and people who are going to be using it in the future, and whether that's any role for the planning commission or the city.
The way I look at that, they bought the balance of the development. They actually went in and reshaped the detention basin somewhat themselves. So I feel like they're responsible for it at this time.
Okay.
They improved it or disimproved it?
I don't know which way to go on that because it's been there for some time, and I'm sure it's getting a lot of sediment in it and things like that. It's lacking. Maybe Sandy, you can talk anytime on this you like. How much maybe it's lacking? I don't know the numbers.
In its current state right now, it has, it's definitely accumulated sediment, not only coming off of the overall site itself, but also from degrading side slopes. It's pretty evident if you go out there that there's some gullying and stuff that's been going on there. So, that inherently loses some capacity. But the numbers that we're running right now, we do have some concerns that in a fully developed condition, that basin probably could use some upgrading, not only for protection and control of peak discharges within this development, but also in consideration with what's going on downstream and the concern that we have as a community for flooding issues downstream.
So as it stands now, is it like 5% undersized or 20% or just roughly?
It would handle the majority of the storm events that you would encounter. Right now, it would probably overtop at less than a 100-year event. Typically, you're going to want to be able to pass the storm, the 100-year event going through there. So there is the spillway configuration itself can be modified. The outlet structures to control flows a little bit more, and additional capacity could be added to that.
And then my question is, so it's had this problem already. Eventually, the city will be taking over this detention basin, and what can the city do to make sure that before that, we're not gonna have it silt up yet again?
Well, that's why we're looking at it.
Have a tool for that?
That's why we're looking at it now. We want to make sure that we don't have a big headache in the future.
Yeah. In other words, besides resizing it, something needs to be done about this washing in of the side
Well,
slope.
we need to look at maybe some erosion blankets or something until we can get some type of vegetation on the banks. And I don't know what else, but that would be between the engineers, what they come up with, and Sandy can work with them. I told him that we would go ahead and have a meeting within the next week to start the process of getting that cleaned and couldn't do it today, of course, but we're going to have to wait till it dries up just a little bit. But we'll start that process.
Okay.
Because I'm concerned for future development. I don't want to fill this thing up and us have really problems in the future with it.
Any other city staff members have comments? For instance, Paul.
No, they met all the things I asked them to do in regards to surveying.
Commissioners have any questions or comments?
I have one more question about the process for determining the proper detention basin. I assume you have formulas, and that includes probabilities of rain events of different sizes.
Right.
And that's probably based on the historical record of precipitation. So last year, for instance, would we have a 100-year storm and then a 500-year storm? And the evidence is that as the planet warms, there's more moisture in the air and a higher frequency of larger storm events. So do you take that into consideration, that you're designing for a planet whose weather is different from that you based your original formulas on?
Current regulations don't account for that. However, they do call for synthetic storm events, which is what most communities will use, and those events do get updated over time. What was used 10 years ago using a methodology called TR55. Now, kind of the standard that folks go by is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association, NOAA Atlas 14, which is where many of the synthetic events come from now. So we try to check those on a regular basis because they do get updated periodically. Something that you may want to consider is using some of those historic events if you have hourly precipitation data from the events from last year. I know Lexington right now in their detention basin calculations, they have 3 historic events that you have to model for. So, you know, they realize the importance and the impact that those extreme events can have.
But I guess my question is, are you taking into consideration likely changes in those probabilities and designing for that rather than for the way things used to be?
Not at the moment. I mean, we evaluate based on existing regs. So unless we change that and forecast,
We're going to have to review our regulations because what's in the regulations is what we ask them to do at this point, but we do need to look at. As part of our comprehensive plan update, we're going to get real in-depth into the flooding issues. So at that time, we may want to talk about some of these things. And then in turn, once you do that and get them into a comprehensive plan, we want to look at what type of regulations we need to put in place. So it is a process. We're not there today, but we do need to look at it, certainly.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
It looks like in the southwest corner, I think, that there's a detention basin for the adjacent property. Is that correct? Right down there. Is that what the contours are showing? Is that what I'm seeing, Sandy?
it's showing a depressed area there. I don't know if that was anything that was part of any design or if it might have just been a borrow area where folks had used some soils and just left a pit there.
I can tell you that's not an organized detention area. I really don't know what it is. I haven't been out there. It's kind of over in the corner away from everything. That's about where the old house sat. Remember the old house?
No.
There was a big old colonial style home set back there and it burned one night. Yeah, that's about the house seat right there. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it. When they cleaned out the old house seat, they may have left a depressed area.
Well, if you look at almost immediately to the left of it there looks like
a bank.
and a pipe leading into it there by the
I see that.
955.
I see that.
Where I'm going with this is, if that is a detention basin, and if in fact we are impacting it with our development, we not want them to fix that one up, which would help address the other issue, Sandy, on downstream, so to speak? If that was in fact a detention basin?
We would have to look and see if that was part of the original development plan for detention.
I looked on the original plan. There was no detention in that area.
I didn't notice. So, you know, I looked through our archive files of old development plans.
We had a
and
detention,
saw the lower
the
one.
one big one down here to the east,
I see it on the site map there.
and then we had the one back, actually, it wasn't a detention basin, but it was a ravine that they put a couple of pipes in that helps hold water back. It really wasn't calculated into the numbers, but it does help hold water back above this. And then there was one on the backside on farmland, which never got developed back there because they never developed that area. So if they ever develop, I'll have to put that one in.
But if you look at that 160-foot dimension at the bottom of the page, it says a 24-inch CMP running from what looks like a head wall into a 30-inch and on down, I assume, in the direction of the retention basin. So that looks to me like it's
tell me what that
intended to catch
It's
and
just a
store,
big
Sandy.
depression there, low spot.
Did you all shoot these grades?
Different things that could impact some of those contours. Have been an outlet pipe for a developed area that wasn't adequately protected, and over time, it kind of naturally wore that pit out. Possible, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of history with that particular location.
Is that your,
Yeah, there is a release point and then a slope, and then it picks it up again. So
is that 24-inch CMP, is that yours? Are you putting that in?
No, it's already existing. There, it's kind of a real wet area there. It's a depression because, we actually shot these contours like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little area that may have been a pond at one time or something and not gotten filled in, or I'm not real sure the history of it either.
That 24-inch CMP and then the 30-inch, is that not the one that then comes and looking at it to the east, to the right, it goes to a head wall which dumps into the retention basin?
it's
that
an
we're
upper
talking
head wall that runs through a channel and then down a slope into that basin.
I think that's what
Yeah.
that is. I think it's draining it rather than going to it, is what I think.
We're going to the east, right?
Right, there's a large retention basin
Yeah,
to the east.
To the east.
But the retention, the depression,
Okay.
I can't swear to it, but I'm thinking that what this pipe does is it drains that depression over to the retention basin.
I agree.
Right.
Oh,
My
okay.
question is,
Sorry.
was it a detention basin that needs to be
No.
reconstructed or fixed or whatever? I mean, is this, you talked about the main detention basin is infilled, the sides. Is that the same thing that's happened here, and we've allowed a retention area to deteriorate, and should we not be fixing it as part of this
I'll be glad
development?
to go out and take a look at it. When you look at the plan, it shows that it clearly states what's retention. That was not listed as a retention area, but I'll be glad to look at that all again just to make sure. That was not listed, because see, what happened is, if you look at that, you can't do it that way because it actually covers 3 pieces of property. It actually goes on to what used to be the Calico development, and he would not have been allowed to put their retention over on somebody else's property. That's why I know that it's not a retention basin. I don't know. I'm telling you, it's really close to where the old house was. I've been up there several times. That's just about where it's set. And so it could be that that was what was kind of a depressed area that was left over. Because the house burnt down and they went in and they scooped it all up and carried it away. The chances are they may have left a depressed area when they did that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Dale. What's throwing me off, though, is that pipe or that run that's coming in from the right, left-hand side there. I mean, that's, and the contours don't, they look to me like this was a man-made area with the intention of holding water, detaining water, slowing water down. And then it's got a head wall and it runs out and goes across the street. Maybe we can't do anything about it relative to this project. I'm not trying to beat this project.
I will look at it. We'll
But
look
what
at it.
I'm getting at is, if we're talking about having to fix the other retention area, and it's just marginally bad, why would we not go back and pick up this one and try to improve it, instead of having to recraft the other
Okay.
one downstream?
I don't believe Lot 120 is built on right now. That Lot 120 where it says amended final plat of the Beaumont.
Right?
I don't think it has anything on it currently. because there's 2 or 3 back in that corner that are vacant. So I will go up there and walk out there and look, and we will include that in any analysis of future, of this other detention basin. We'll look at them at the same time. It doesn't show it on the plan, but that doesn't mean somebody didn't do something here to kind of, I don't know, maybe slow the water down a little bit or something, I don't know. They could have. They could have.
Well, I would ask the city staff to give us some guidance on whether we would need to make approval of this contingent on that sorting out okay on that depression.
Well,
Do Innovative
Sort of-
Properties own 120, lot 120 now?
no, they do not.
But do they own 595?
They own that portion, yeah, they own that side, and they own this lot that we're working on, but they
Okay.
do not own the lot 120.
Okay,
You'd hate to
That
get,
still belongs to the Beaumont development.
gotcha.
you'd hate to get into a cross property line
See,
issue
that's what
because
really
this
throws
being
you,
on
because
3
we wouldn't have
lots.
allowed them to put it across on the other, Mr.
Yeah.
Calico's property. At that time, it wasn't, this was developed prior to that.
Yeah, but I just
The
wonder if we
concern is
should
the
make
gas
approval of
line.
this contingent.
Is the
Right.
what?
So the other concern is the gas lines that crisscross,
Yeah.
appear to be almost the center of the basin.
Yeah, they do.
I
But
don't
you,
believe, go ahead.
but you made the survey, and these are the current contours. Is that what you're telling us?
That's correct. Where you get on the ends of them, sometimes you might get a little stray,
Yeah.
kind of crazy looking lines.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, these are the actual topos. And just in my opinion, though, the 24-inch pipe there is not going to really slow the water down much, depending on how much is actually coming to it. But I wouldn't think it would.
Well, it looks like it has a big mound in front of it, right? Well, no, it's pretty much just sloping down.
You're only potentially ponding 2 feet there, because
Yeah.
that pipe is going to be at about 40,
Well, we will certainly
would be 3 feet.
check it out to make sure that it's not what it appears to be, but, or whatever.
I feel like if it's a mud hole or a wetland or some kind of whatever, it needs to be figured out before, we get more property lines. I guess we're not getting more property lines, but a bunch of money poured in here to develop something and then have a problem area there. Just, so whoever makes the motion can decide about that. Any other comments from commissioners or staff?
Just one minor comment question. I remember when we looked at this before, there was this question about the number of trees required was 20. I don't know where that number came from, but it also said that there were 28 shown. Now there's 41 shown, but it still says there's 28.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't
I still don't know why 20 is the number required, but
I don't know where they got that, but I was the one that told them that they had to have more, and they put more on it. They put them spaced what the code calls for, what the regulations calls for.
the site statistic didn't change.
Make that change.
I didn't see that.
Any questions or comments from the audience?
We did notify adjacent property owners by certified mail, or by first-class mail certified by the city clerk. So we have met the notification requirements.
Chair would entertain a motion on this project.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve this development plan with two, I don't know if they're contingencies, but one, that a note be put in there that any further development that makes use of the main detention basin there would have to consider, well, would you say that that basin has to be improved before
It has to be
there's any
improved to
further-
meet today's standards.
Okay. So note that if any of the rest of this is to be developed, that there has to be an improvement of the major basin to meet the standards. And then second, that city staff will go out and look at the strange depression that's there and see if that presents any issues in terms of intentional or unintentional holding of water there that have to be dealt with.
And if the city staff is okay with it, then. that
Right, if
contingency
city staff says
taken
that's
care of.
not a barrier, then we're good to go.
Very good.
So somebody could word that much more eloquently than I did, but.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Olson and seconded by Mr. Clark to approve the development plan contingent on a note being placed on the plat, or sorry, on the development plan, in the record,
In the record, yes,
In the
that's where,
record,
that's where it
sorry.
needs to be.
stating that no further development that is served by the detention basin that this is served by can happen until the detention basin has been brought up to current standards. And that city staff will inspect the depression area at the southwest corner of this development. And if it's okay by them, that contingency would be fulfilled. Otherwise, improvements would have to be made there. So there's your motion, such as it is. It's a whopper. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The motion passes.
Thank you very much.
So at this point, we go into a work session about the BBC Holdings LLC 1155 AD Road Development Plan for Fastenal. So yeah. Anyone here to tell us about that?
Brian Shirley, Engineering Services. I'm here to also represent Holdings, Mr. David Sears, the contract vendee for this particular piece of property.
And, Mr. Chairman, I have a letter from the, this property, as of today, still belongs to the Berea Industrial Authority. There is a deal to be done, but I have a letter from Mr., the mayor and chairperson of that authority, Mr. Stephen Conley, stating that he is giving the authority for Mr. Brian Shirley to represent the city industrial authority concerning this development plan that had been submitted. I just want to put that on the record because at this time, it still belongs to the city development authority.
Thank you. Mr. Shirley?
Thank you. The proposed project is for a 4,500 square foot retail facility, and the tenant would be Fastenal. They're a seller of all kinds of different fastening types equipments to retail customers and to corporate accounts. Majority of the store will be more storage. You come into the front of the store, there'll be a couple gondolas for high traffic type items, but then you go to the counter, kind of like you're doing some of the parts stores, tell them what you're looking for. They go bring it out of the back and into the site. We've been working a lot with Mr. McKay and with Mr. Schrader, nailing down the actual property on this, and I think we have finally reached that acreage. But I'm here to answer any questions to the best of my ability on this project, if you have any.
Any questions or comments from city staff?
I'll go ahead first and maybe Paul. We have worked several hours with Fastenal, both on the phone, through emails, various other ways, and we have come up with, they've come up with a plan that, as of now, I have no issues. All my issues were taken care of. When we had the TAC meeting, there was a couple of things such as they didn't have a dumpster located. They've since done that. There was some question about the sidewalks along the front. They've shown that now. There was a couple of other minor things, but as far as I'm concerned, this plan is ready to go. I'll let the other two answer for theirs, but if you remember at the work session, I asked the commission if there was a way we could help by speeding it up a little bit, so that's why we're bringing it tonight. So this is a work session / business session. So if everything seems to fit what the planning commission wants and there's not any major issues, I think they're all asking approval tonight so they can get started. They've got some time limits on them, constraints. So with that, staff is okay as far as I'm concerned.
And the very first submittal had all the survey requirements. There were no deficiencies at all.
I don't have any issues with this current set of plan. Seems like it's well laid out, the drainage is taken care of. I had asked them to consider modifying the location of the spillway of the detention basin 2 so that it was directed onto the adjacent parcel to the north, and they have located that. So that, I don't have any other issues.
Do any commission members have any questions or comments? My bad. Mr. Clark?
Are vicinity maps required, or they're not?
We have one on the sheet C1. We just resubmitted the two.
We only have 2 and 3 here.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's in here, yeah. Well, it's in here. Cover sheet, I'm sorry, you didn't have the cover sheet tonight. They have a color
Okay.
site map. We tried to save a little paper instead of copying everything. We gave the planning commission the pertinent information. In other words, you didn't get utilities and stuff like that because that's handled. We've already been through TAC meeting on that, and they're all in agreement with what's going on.
And commission members have questions or comments? I have 3. The sidewalk is not drawn in on the Mady Road frontage. Is there going to be a sidewalk there?
You have the revised plan.
I've got
You're talking about where it goes across the railroad tracks. Let me tell you something. That is not a public right-of-way per se. We found out that belongs to CSX Railroad, and you don't construct anything on their property without going through about a year-long process.
What about just along Mady Road, though, on the frontage?
There is one shown.
I just don't have the little blocks or the side of the sidewalk drawn in on my picture.
It's a part of the railroad right-of-way?
Yeah.
We found out it's actually railroad right-of-way.
They've got a deed to it?
So it ends at it ends at that one.
I suspect that it's become public by,
I agree with you.
if CSX owns it, then public's got a right to use it. That doesn't impress me much.
The public can use it for driving cars. Should not the public be able to use it for walking, on a walking type facility?
Probably foot above.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like the bank comes down like this right to the road. I mean, I don't know where you'd put a sidewalk.
Yeah, and
And I'm not talking it's like sidewalks, but that's one place it probably would be really, really difficult to put them.
And CSX has made it very clear to us that they do claim ownership to that property, and that they will not allow any improvements on our part.
I spent the last 3 days trying to sue CSX from where CDP Engineering just asked about the road. We're trying to get a set of crossing arms out there for the school. And that is probably the most sensitive thing that I've dealt with since I've had this job. Is trying to get those crossing arms in by August the 8th. That's the deadline that I've given them to put them in. And they have told me that if we keep monkeying with it, they're not going to make that deadline. And, we're only into April now, so. It's in the design stage right now. But they say that all that belongs to them. There used to be a bridge, a wooden bridge. Go back that far, Jimmy does, but I'm telling you.
30 years ago it was up there.
Yeah. There used to be a wooden bridge that went across that. That bridge, like the one that's on Millis, when it gets in disrepair, it started to fall in, and they just let it fall in, and then they went in and bulldozed that out, which left a road goes down and then back up, so you've got a big depression on both sides, a high bank on both sides. And we're trying to get crossing arms in there, and anything we do that's even remotely close to CSX, slows them down on the crossing arms.
It's also understanding that there are other design plans for that road, and any improvements we try to do on that would end up being torn out.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
And any other
CDP is
improvements.
working on a plan, but we've got them kind of undercover. Well, they're not asking CSX about anything.
Okay, well, let's not talk about that anymore. Word to get out. Next question, the sidewalks on the frontage on the long side. Well, they should be built so that the sidewalk is continuous across the driveway rather than the driveway interrupting the sidewalk. Follow me? So as a person pulls in or out of there, they will see a sidewalk and recognize that they're crossing a sidewalk. They need to watch for pedestrians.
So the concrete entrance versus the asphalt entrance?
Yes.
He's talking about right here.
You know, whatever little,
Either that or
Little joints and all.
you want it's striped as a crosswalk.
I feel that concrete is what you need because it'll stay. Striping, it'll go away.
You can score it like a sidewalk, tool it or score it, to make it look like it's blocked sidewalks. Because either way, that's what it's going to end up looking, which way ever you do it. But they want it to have the appearance of a sidewalk across the entrance.
We are working on a reg, we've all talked about this and think it's a good idea, where a driveway apron meets the gutter pan. Typically been having them with an 1.5-inch jump from the gutter pan to the driveway apron. This is a bicycle-friendly city. We are wanting people now to use a 3/4-inch maximum and radius that edge with a radius equal to the height that you're going up. So a 3/4-inch radius on a 3/4-inch rise. Otherwise, it's no fun on a bicycle. I may be out there on my bicycle, buying stuff. So those are things I'd like to see.
Well, you may have noticed across the street, the
Executed.
state bill is a huge bicycle path out there, so.
In our original submission, we had left the sidewalk off, thinking that that would probably be sufficient. But in the TAC review meeting, we said, no, we need to bring the sidewalk on our side.
Great. Any comments from the audience?
We did notify adjacent property owners by first-class mail certified by the city clerk.
The chair would entertain a motion on this development plan. Sorry, we're still in the work session.
You can do it this way. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Very good. Well, there you go. Ready for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the plan as presented with the addition of the sidewalks crossing the entrance and exit, and the lip and apron, in your language, the 3/4-inch rolled, fill me in.
Let me,
1/4-inch radius, which is a request, because we don't have our,
it's a request. Let's not put
Reg
it
in
into
place.
motion. Well, I'm going to work with them on that, and as long as they have the proper amount of grade on their entrance, that's not a problem. If we had a lot where the lot drained back this way and the whole apron was downhill, we might not be able to do that, because then you would push all your water into it. But as long as that apron goes up, we're able, the 3/4 is not a problem, and I'll work with them on that.
Second.
That really doesn't change much, as far as you all are concerned.
Mr. Clark has made the motion, and Ms. Ollinger has seconded, I believe that's who I heard, to approve the plan with the contingency of the sidewalk crosses the driveway rather than vice versa, and the request that we do the driveway apron edge as specified. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business to be brought before the commission?
Mr. Chairman, just one or two things. We have settled, the committee has met with a potential consultant to help us with our comprehensive plan. We have chosen Dal Harper with the Bluegrass Area Development District. He comes with pretty much with a team behind him. So I have been in touch with him, and we're getting together next week to kind of put together a plan for the next 8 to 10 months. That's probably about how long it'll take us to get through the process of updating, especially during the summer. You don't get a lot of participation, so there probably will be not much happening through last of June, July, and maybe the 1st of August. But we'll pick it back up in the fall. But because that's just been the nature of it in the past. People are just on vacations and various things. So with that, we're getting ready to get started on that. And we are getting very close to getting some training for you all that need the training. And what we're working on now is having it here in town. Not going anywhere. We love that idea better. We talked to KLC. They think they may be able to work that for us. And Robin's been working extensively on getting that taken care of. So hopefully we'll have some. And if any of you want to take some additional training, you're welcome. We'll take care of the tuition for you. But there's some of you that do need it, and so you really need to get it this time around. With that, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless y'all have any questions.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman. What's the status of this lot beside, now, I just went brain dead, behind Cracker Barrel, up the hill? At one time, you had to stop work on it.
I have one now. The gentleman is in, I guess the word that I can tell you is I've went as far as I'm going to go with giving him. He has actually closed it twice.
Yes.
And he put up barriers, and the people who have been dumping take the barriers down and dump anyway. So what I'm going to require, and I'm going to probably work on this tomorrow. I've been out for about a week and a half. I had school, then I've been sick. But I'm going to require that he put up something much stronger. And I'm thinking about placing a sign there quoting the section of not filling, and then that they would be susceptible to fines from the city. Because I don't know of any other way that you can stop situations like that unless you start getting into a situation where you're going to find somebody. I've already told him 2 or 3 times in writing that the way that field is going in, it can never be built on. And that tears him up when I tell him that. I said, but I've been taking pictures all along of all these big, huge chunks of concrete that's going in there, crossways and edgeways, and you'll never be able to build on any of that. There's no way. There's no geotech firm in the nation going to sign off on it. So he's actually destroying his property is what he's doing.
Well,
so I'm going to make one more effort, and if he doesn't, my next step is start to put him on a daily fine. And I think maybe that might do it, but I'll let that be my last recourse.
They're so blatant about it, they brought in a backhoe and they actually sat there all day digging and moving and shoving. I mean, to me, there appears to be no intent to comply with the direction.
I've given him 3 letters, and he says, he did try twice to shut it off. And I consider it trespassing. If he's got signs that says no dumping and people are still dumping, but I'll talk to him. As a matter of fact, I'll just get in touch with him tomorrow and find out what he's going to do.
I've seen the backhoe in there too. Is that his, or is that the folks from the trucks, or?
No, what it is, it's a contractor that is wanting to have a place to waste material, and they don't care to bring something in and smooth it out if they've got a place to dump it.
That contractor have a business license?
I don't know who he is. I have yet to see anyone dump. Now, that's strange sounding, but I have yet to see anyone. If you can get me a license number, I'd love it.
Be glad to. Glad to.
I'll go after whoever's doing it.
Is there any pattern to when they're there dumping?
Nope. No. It's just,
Your name is dumping in.
yeah.
Has his permit with the state in terms of when he's going to cut the?
He has a permit, a valid permit. I checked with the state. He still has that valid permit to put his entrances in there.
Forever? Or I thought it was a.
I don't know what he's doing. I called probably 3 or 4 months ago, and they said, yes, it was still a valid permit.
Now, the one he put in below there, closer to Cracker Barrel, was actually properly installed, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
It was compacted and rolled, and they did
Yes, it
that
was.
one right.
It had to be done according to the requirements, which is I told him what this had to be done too.
Yeah, but this one has just been a process of just dump, 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 in spite of
And
what the city has
the
told.
only thing I hate about the whole thing is the state is requiring him to take all the grass islands out.
Between the two? Really?
All the way up.
All the way up? To the light? Wow.
Because of turn lanes.
Pretty.
That was a stipulation when he got the entrance permits that those had to come out.
So that's at his expense?
Yes, but it's at our expense as far as looking at it.
I understand that, yeah.
If you remember, Walmart had to take out about 700 or 800 foot of them. It went way on down.
Oh, that's right, it went from the motel down,
Yeah.
didn't it? That's right. Well, I'm more concerned about what he's doing on his own property in spite of what the city has repeated.
I will get right on it tomorrow. It needs to be done. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to ask him to go ahead and have it dressed up one more time. Push in what's there. Dress it up. Try to cover up some of the old rough stuff. And then leave it alone. And close it off some way that people can't get in there. I'm not going to ask him. I'm going to inform him that he has to.
JT, we can't do anything on the state right of way, can we? In other words, the city couldn't put a barrier.
Tried to put a sign up there one time.
No, I'm thinking about like at the end of Pinnacle. The city built a barrier, and Pinnacle Locker.
There used to be
Court, whatever it is.
guardrail all the way up through there. He took that section of guardrail down. I guess the state allowed him to do that.
I would think so.
Now, when
So-
Garrison starts cutting that other side.
Well, I'm going to talk personally.
Prospect, all that field's gonna go in there.
No, it's not.
That's Garrison, I mean, but that's who's been dumping in there, is Garrison.
Okay.
Oh, really?
The people that working on the Prospect project?
I've seen Garrison.
They're not the only ones. They're not the only
No,
ones.
no, they're not the only one.
But I can tell them not
That'd be
to.
easy to
What I'll do is,
Yeah, that's.
I'll inform the state inspectors down there that they can't do that anymore.
They'll stop it.
I can take care of that one. I'll do that tomorrow.
Thanks, Dale.
All right, thank you. Anything
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, just quickly, status of the city website?
We are almost ready to go online with the new one. I'm hoping within the next, matter of fact, I was finishing up, they asked for about 4 or 5 items from me today that finishes my site. And we supplied that to them today, so hopefully real soon, very soon.
It's been a long battle.
You guys heard any updates? Because I've been out.
Well,
What'd you say?
yeah. Last update I heard is it may be May. It's our contractor, our consultant. They had a meeting, well, they were supposed to have a meeting with him today, and he was not able to make it to that meeting, had to postpone that meeting.
The
But
reason I said that 30 days ago, last thing I heard, it would be about 30 days.
that's what we keep hearing from our consultant. So now we're hearing sometime in May.
May is a week away, so.
And then, the last time we had a big spike in oil prices, I know asphalt went up, and that was a burden on the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Now that oil's going up again, are you having impacts on cost for asphalt?
Oh, I'm sure we will. There's no doubt about it, yes. Have you seen anything, Sandy? I mean, we haven't
I haven't heard anything on the
done any
asphalt
major projects
side,
yet, so.
but I know just the plastic pipe, the polyethylene pipe. I've gotten some emails saying, watch out, because of the resins that get used in that pipe, oil-based.
So not only are they going to steal the copper, they're going to steal the drain lines.
We're going to start pulling pipe.
Thank you, Dan.
Anything else before adjournment? Motion to adjourn, anyone?
Second.
It's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.